in need of relief. As Texas suffers a devastating week of damage and death, Catholic Relief Services is helping. Power broker indicted. Former House Speaker accused in hush money scandal. Authentic faith. Pope Francis urges Christians to be forgiving and open to others. And goodbye to May. We wrap up Mary's month with these images from the National Shrine. Those stories and more on EWTN News Nightly for Friday, May 29th, 2015. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Patrick as we look at your news now. Many people in Texas and Oklahoma remain on high alert tonight, threatened with yet another round of severe storms. At least 35 people have now died due to the severe weather this week. 9 remain missing. Wyatt Goolsby has more tonight.
Oh, no!
A river bursts into the Perez family home. The water from the Blanco River swelled by the storms. Furniture circles around the living room while the Perez family records video from upstairs.
It became very, very real and scary at that moment.
They survived, but many did not. Over the past 5 days, severe weather killed people in Texas, Oklahoma, and Mexico. The number of missing decreases as the death toll rises. Cars, cows, and houses still underwater. Where the water has started to recede, constant reminders of the flash flooding. Fish stuck in a fence, a gator in a garage, and an unearthed coffin in the road.
I got pretty scared because I'm like, how can the cats get up here?
Wednesday night, this tornado hit the Texas Panhandle. The wicked weather isn't over. More rain is expected in Texas and Oklahoma through the weekend, forcing some communities to evacuate.
You try to grab your pictures and your important papers and stuff that that you can't replace.
But some aren't heeding the warning.
What's going to happen tonight? That's what I'm worried about. And who stayed in here and didn't get out? And what are we going to find tomorrow?
The National Weather Service says Houston, one of the hardest hit cities in the flooding, could see more storms for at least the next 4 days. Wyatt Goolsby, EWTN News Nightly.
Joining us from Catholic Charities for the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, Mike Nicknish is in Houston. And Mike, what have you seen there over the past week or so with all the flooding and the terrible destruction?
Our Bay Area is one of the ones 2 weeks ago were impacted by the flooding. And we're collaborating with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul and some other local groups to provide assistance. Also in Houston, in Southwest Houston, we had an apartment complex that was almost completely destroyed. About 150 families have been displaced, and we're working with the City of Houston to find them new temporary housing. As well, we have 9 low-income seniors whose homes sustained substantial damage to the roof. So we've had our crews out there putting up tarps and also working with the homeowners in order to provide some estimates for costs of repairs.
So are you able to do or affect any of those repairs yourself, or is this something that we'll have to wait till down the road?
We will utilize volunteers. There's some things we can do ourselves, but we are a member of VOAD, which is Voluntary Organizations Active in Disasters, and there are quite a few organizations that have been working together in order to provide some response and relief.
Who are the most vulnerable in this situation? Is it the senior citizens, people who have some kind of illness? Are you able to help them especially?
Yes, particularly, you mentioned it, our seniors are probably the most vulnerable. We've been very fortunate so far. The homeowners that have been impacted, majority of them have insurance, but yes, you're right, it is the seniors who we need to be able to provide them a safe environment to be in. So we're working to make sure we accomplish that.
And certainly, unlike some other disaster relief agencies, Catholic Charities is in a community for the long haul. You've been there for 70-some years. So long-term recovery, is that part of your plan too?
Yes, sir, it is. As you said, we are in this for the long haul. We know that there's going to be additional flooding as the creeks and rivers exceed their banks. So we have case management set up in place. We have counseling for families and individuals who might need that service.
And very quickly, for our national audience, how can they connect with you to help in this disaster?
They can visit our website, www.catholiccharities.org, and we are accepting donations. They can click on that particular link, and there's a 2015 Memorial Day weekend fund that they can donate to. We're also accepting, if people want to donate gift cards, we'll certainly accept those as well.
Mike Nicknish from Catholic Charities in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, thanks for joining us, and you and the folks there are in our prayers.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Some of the other stories our EWTN News Nightly team has been covering in today's world. The United States removes Cuba from its list of state sponsors of terrorism. Today, Secretary of State John Kerry signed off on the move. It's being hailed in Cuba as an important step towards normalizing relations with the U.S. The reaction here at home, very mixed. Many Cuban Americans are critical. House Speaker John Boehner says the Castro regime gets a significant political win in return for nothing. Well, from a position of power to a suspected felon, former House Speaker Dennis Hastert slapped with a federal indictment. He is accused of lying to the FBI about a payment of $3.5 million to keep someone quiet concerning past misconduct. That federal indictment doesn't say who the person is. It does not elaborate on what the past misconduct refers to. Hastert retired as House Speaker in 2007. He has worked as a lobbyist since. There are signs that tough new anti-money laundering norms are now taking hold at the Vatican Bank. The Vatican's financial watchdog agency says it received 147 reports of suspicious financial transactions last year. That's down from the 202 received in 2013 when the Vatican Bank was undergoing a review of all of its accounts. The Financial Information Authority was actually created by Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI in 2010. Its goal of cleaning the Vatican's financial house seems to be working.
I think a lot of credibility has brought back to the work which is carried out here in the Vatican, and it's our responsibility to build facts, and then the facts will speak by itself.
Only 7 of last year's transactions were actually forwarded to Vatican prosecutors for an investigation. Most of those concerned suspected fraud, or tax evasion. The president of FIFA, the World Soccer Organization, wins a 5th term today. Sepp Blatter's victory comes during a week marked by arrests resulting from a corruption investigation of top FIFA officials. Blatter compares his role to that of a captain of a ship, saying he'll help lead FIFA back to shore.
We have to work on that. We have also to work on other things that we have to do for FIFA in the future.
U.S. authorities have indicted 14 people, several of them FIFA officials who were arrested in Zurich this week. Nigerians celebrate democracy as a new president is inaugurated there. Muhammadu Buhari pledges to take personal charge of the fight against Boko Haram terrorists. The 72-year-old former general who ruled briefly as a military dictator in the 80s now calls himself a born-again Democrat. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry attended the inauguration, and a State Department official says the U.S. is now ready to increase military aid and send more advisors to Nigeria. Well, after the recent first beatification ever on African soil, Jason Calvi profiles the woman now called Blessed. Jason?
Brian, this is Blessed Irene Stefani, who served as a missionary in Kenya. She died young in 1930, but her memory lives on.
100,000 people packed in for the beatification of Sister Irene. That according to Kenya's Daily Nation newspaper. Irene is affectionately called Niada, which means Mother of Mercy.
Sister Irene's life was so full of faith and so full of dedication, so full of service, that the story of the things she did, the care and love she showed, endured from generation to generation.
Blessed Irene was born in Italy in 1891. She joined the Consolata missionaries. She was a teacher, a Red Cross nurse during World War I, and principal of a boys' school. Blessed Irene also cared for victims of the plague. She became infected herself and died at the age of 39. That day, people flocked to the sister's house. Father Dan Mukado is a member of the same order and met some of Sister Irene's contemporaries.
They would see holiness in her because of the way she treated them. She loved them. She did it with love. Whatever she did, whether it was preaching or teaching them catechism and stuff like that, they saw a holy woman in that lady for sure.
At the beatification ceremony last weekend, some of Irene's family attended, as did people from across Kenya.
We're proud to say that, look, someone who's worked among us has been able to become saint because of working with us and and then giving herself for the poor and the less fortunate in society.
One miracle was needed for Sister Irene to be named a blessed. The Daily Nation reports that miracle took place when 270 people trapped in a parish church prayed for Irene's intercession. The paper says a small holy water font provided enough drinking water for 4 days. Brian?
Blessed Irene, pray for us. Thank you, Jason. Pope Francis praises the parents of gravely ill children who chose not to abort. Here you see the Pope at Mass this morning, and later he met for nearly an hour with a group of severely ill children in the chapel with their parents. The families are participating in a pilgrimage to the shrines at Lourdes and Loreto. Francis praised the heroism of these parents for affirming life in the face of serious health challenges. Coming up, a leader of religious sisters in the U.S. answers a tough question about faithfulness to church teaching. And a giant Philadelphia mural will celebrate Pope Francis and the World Meeting of Families. Speaking about the new evangelization, Pope Francis says today it is to become aware of the merciful love the Father has for us and to become instruments of salvation for our brothers. Thanks for joining us on this Friday evening. I'm Brian Patrick. A renewed connection between the Vatican and the organization representing a majority of women religious in the U.S. is now in place. A recently released joint statement says the group's statutes have been revised to show a focus on Christ and being faithful to church teaching. We accepted an invitation to visit with 4 leaders of that organization this week and had to ask the tough question. Did you not have speakers and people who wrote about things that may have been counter to church teaching at some point prior to this investigation?
To my knowledge, we haven't deliberately invited people who were going to say something contrary to church teaching. But once in a while, in a question and answer period, once in a while in a statement that either out of context appears questionable, but it's not that it was the topic of the talk or that we invited somebody to talk contrary to church teaching. But as much as we try, if something comes out of somebody's mouth and it gets quoted, it doesn't really mean that LCWR has taken a stand on that point and that we stand behind it. So there were difficulties like that, but that happens with everybody that talks out loud, I think.
After 3 years of working things out and the joint statement was released, 3 of you actually got to meet with Pope Francis. I wonder, what did that mean to you personally?
I took away a great sense of hope and a great sense of encouragement and really a sense of wonder that entering into this process, I think, as we did, through the discernment and contemplation, we came to this place.
It was quite profound. I found for myself that the experience of being welcomed by him as he said to us, as your brother. I mean, I think the fact that he is a Jesuit, he is a religious, and he said to us, I would like to talk with you about the consecrated life, the religious life, and, you know, kind of the impact of it on the world and vice versa.
In true Jesuit fashion, he was a person in love with the world, and that came through in everything that he said. The other thing that impressed me was that he was interested in us, in what our opinions were, and I was surprised, I think, because I expected him to be talking to us, and instead he wanted to talk with us about not only what was important to him, but what was important to us, and that was a very satisfying experience.
And Pope Francis will be honored with a giant mural at a Catholic school in Philadelphia. Creation of the mural coincides with the Holy Father's September visit for the World Meeting of Families. The art will show the Pope with his arm around a child surrounded by parents and children. Hundreds of volunteers, visitors, and students will help paint this mural, measuring more than 4,200 square feet.
It's wonderful. I think I don't know how to describe it, but it's like really exciting to, you know, the Pope is coming for the World Meeting. It's like really exciting. I really like it. It's so beautiful, the team.
Catholics from nearby parishes and schools hold their first paint day this Tuesday. Francis, of course, will attend the closing festival for the World Meeting of Families at the end of September. Well, parts of the Patriot Act expire at midnight on Monday, and that means some of the National Security Agency's controversial surveillance programs will end. So will other strategic security programs without an 11th-hour deal of some sort. The Obama administration says the NSA will have to begin shutting down surveillance programs this Sunday evening.
Without action from the Senate, we will experience a serious lapse in our ability to protect the American people.
Officials explain the NSA will start turning off servers and reconfiguring software by 8 p.m. Sunday and will then be unable to reverse the shutdown. Weeks ago, the House passed the USA Freedom Act to reauthorize the programs that are set to expire midnight Monday morning. But added restrictions on some NSA surveillance programs became a sticking point in the Senate, and it failed to pass by 3 votes. Kentucky Senator and Republican presidential candidate Rand Paul is one of the most vocal critics of the NSA's bulk phone data collection programs.
Our forefathers would be aghast.
Paul's opposition has helped force an unusual Sunday session of the Senate this weekend as the chamber returns from a week-long recess. Even if a Senate compromise is reached, there are no plans for the House to reconvene before the deadline has already passed. Up next, not one, but 2 contestants achieved perfection at the National Spelling Bee. And these grandparents have been blessed with an enormous extended family. Virgin most merciful, pray for us as we invoke the Blessed Mother as this month of May draws to a close this weekend. Thanks for joining us on this Friday evening. I'm Brian Patrick. So if you have trouble remembering birthdays of your family members, you will have no more excuses after meeting this couple. Catherine Szeltner spoke earlier with a family that continues to welcome the gift of life.
Leo and Ruth Zanger are now the grandparents of 53 grandchildren, 46 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild, bringing it to a total of 100 grandchildren. Leo, Ruth, how's your family celebrating the birth of the newest little one you have there?
It's been pretty hectic. We started out just having the local newspaper do a little story, and it's mushroomed to such an extent. It's overwhelming.
And I have to ask, in such a large family, how do you make sure no one gets lost in the mix? A birthday is not forgotten, all names are remembered?
Well, we have a list, and our daughter Donna she reminds us always of when there's a birthday, and she calls each one of them. Every time there's a birthday, she calls them and wishes them happy birthday.
That's beautiful. So I have to ask, how do you respond if others ask another one?
We just say, so what? You know, none of them are on welfare. They pay their own way, and we've never had any problems. So the good Lord takes care of us.
And can you share more about that, just the role that your faith plays within your family?
Well, we've gone to church faithfully, and so does the family. We do belong to St. Rose of Lima here in Quincy, Illinois, and most of the family attends Mass, and our parishioners there. 59 years of our wedding time, and so I don't know. I guess, like I said, good Lord made it happen.
What a beautiful witness. And Ruth, as the matriarch of this family, can you share the benefits of having a large family? What have you seen?
Well, there's a lot of them around.
She should tell you about Mother's Day, because Mother's Day she was overwhelmed with cards and kisses and hugs. And so it's a good experience all the way around.
That's so sweet. Well, Ruth and Leo, thank you for your family's yes to life. It was great speaking with you, and best of luck with the newest little one you have there.
Thank you very much.
And he's waking up just in time for a little TV cameo. Catherine's back, by the way, in just a moment. But earlier, we told you about the FIFA corruption scandal rocking the world of international soccer. It's good to have sports agent Doug Eldridge back with us for some perspective. Break down the investigation real quickly for us.
Sure. This has apparently been going on for almost 25 years insofar as the reach of the improprieties. We're talking about two simultaneous investigations. One was for bribery related to sports marketing and media rights surrounding the World Cups, and the other was actually the selection process for the 2018 and 2022 games.
How interesting. But the U.S. doesn't seem to have a big stake in international soccer. Why were we so intricately involved in this?
Two reasons primarily. One is because of the large consumer populace in the United States, our purchasing power, and the huge growing fan base for soccer here in the States. The other is because, quite honestly, we were able to establish the legal standard to be able to investigate this. In simplest terms, it was actually a combination of a near 40-year-old statute, RICO, Racketeer Influenced Corrupt Organizations Act from '78, and a more recent terror-focused act in the wake of 9/11, which looked at financial records, which looked at internet service providers, insofar as giving the Department of Justice a foothold and an entry point to investigate larger criminal, if not terror organizations.
I should point out that Doug is an attorney, so we really appreciate that explanation. I was very curious. How could this go on for so long, though?
Well, there's always a difference between what everybody knows versus what you can prove. And while there's certainly been conjecture and speculation and barroom chatter about the quote-unquote corruption of FIFA, up until now, nobody has been able or willing to step up to the plate and make these accusations. I would say the other thing, the proverbial nail in the coffin perhaps, was the awarding of the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. Not the locations, but the extraordinary expenses involved, and also the fact that each of those two locations in Russia and Qatar, respectively, there was a complete lack of infrastructure. And a final point I would say, as somebody that spent quite a bit of time in the Middle East and loves that part of the world, wonderful culture and wonderful people, in the summertime when the World Cup is played, it is typically around 120 degrees in Qatar, plus humidity.
Not good. Not
all of
good
this
for
cumulatively
sports.
raised a lot of questions.
Some great insight. Doug Eldridge of the DLE Agency, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you.
Well, can you spell non-attack? It's an exposed ridge or peak surrounded by glacial ice. I just learned that today. Non-attack was one of the two winning words at the Scripps National Spelling Bee. For the second straight year, there are two winners. 13-year-old Vanya and 14-year-old Gokul shared the golden trophy at yesterday's final. Before last year, a tie had not happened since 1962. By the way, non-attack is spelled much the way it sounds, N-U-N-A-T-A-K. The month of May, dedicated to Mary, ends this weekend, and tonight, Catherine Szeltner explores a treasure trove of Marian devotion right here in Washington.
Step below the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, and you'll find yourself face to face with Mary.
She is the person we go to, as all children would go to a mother.
Rows of chapels honor the Blessed Virgin at the largest Catholic church in the U.S. The first one dedicated to Our Lady of Lourdes in 1931. And now, there are over 70 chapels and prayer spaces dedicated to the Lady in Blue.
The number of chapels continue to grow here at the shrine. A new one dedicated to Our Lady of Hungary is expected to be completed by August. They're busy at work right now.
The Mother of Good Counsel, Queen of Missions, Mary, our Mother of Africa. A woman who has appeared with many different names and faces, but Monsignor Bunano says Mary is one mother to all.
One thing that's so interesting is her communication to those people that she appears to is always in their native language, in the language that they are able to understand.
The different paintings, statues, and chapels invite visitors to come to know Mary better.
We do know her as a historical figure in a Jewish woman. Her name was Miriam. This was a young girl that experienced these unbelievable events in her life.
A young girl who became a mother, now waiting with open arms. Catherine Szeltner, EWTN News Nightly.
On this day, oh beautiful mother. Well, until Monday, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You can watch again on EWTN's YouTube page. For our very dedicated EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Brian Patrick. Have a good weekend. Good night. God bless.